A powerful full polar vortex collapse is on the horizon for mid-March, and it's set to shake up weather patterns across North America. We're witnessing a significant stratospheric warming event that's rapidly breaking down the polar vortex. This is the second disruption we've seen this year, following a cold air release in February that chilled much of the central and eastern United States. What's fascinating is that this upcoming event appears even stronger, signaling the final collapse of the polar vortex for this season. Once it happens, we won't see the polar vortex again until the next winter season in 2025/2026. The first signs of its impact are already emerging across the United States and Canada, so brace yourselves for some dramatic weather changes ahead. A weakened jet stream and low-pressure systems are shaping up over North America, which typically means a new influx of cold Arctic air is on the horizon. The updated pressure pattern shows a broad low over Canada, linked to the polar vortex still hanging out in the stratosphere. This low-pressure area stretches into the United States, and its positioning will dictate our temperature outcomes. Right now, we're seeing a massive cold air building in Western Canada and the Western United States, while a warm wave is just exiting the eastern states. This is the early phase of the post-sudden stratospheric warming period where cold air starts to accumulate. The GFS model confirms this, showing cold air pooling over southern Canada and the western United States, but with warmer air pushing into the central and eastern regions due to the low-pressure systems placement. It's a complex dance of air masses, reflecting the interconnectedness of our atmosphere. The stratospheric warming event is on the horizon, and a full wind reversal is becoming increasingly likely. Sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW, is a fascinating phenomenon where we see a significant rise in temperature and pressure in the stratosphere. This disruption leads to the collapse of the polar vortex, which can dramatically alter our weather patterns. As high-pressure anomalies from the stratosphere push downwards, they disrupt the jet stream, allowing frigid polar air to spill into the mid-latitudes, including the United States. If we look at the temperature anomalies, we can see that strong warming is already occurring in the stratosphere. This warming wave is making its way down, signaling changes ahead. Pressure anomalies are also crucial. We can observe a developing high-pressure system in the stratosphere that is beginning to connect with the surface. As we move into mid-March, the effects of this SSW will become more pronounced, reshaping our weather landscape. Stay tuned as the impact of this event unfolds. The stratospheric warming event is on the horizon, and we're starting to see signs of a full wind reversal. This phenomenon, known as sudden stratospheric warming, triggers a significant rise in temperature and pressure in the stratosphere, leading to a collapse of the polar vortex. But what does this mean for our weather? As the high-pressure anomalies from the stratosphere push downwards, they disrupt the jet stream, allowing frigid polar air to spill into the United States and other mid-latitude regions. If we look at the temperature anomalies, we can see a pronounced warming wave in the stratosphere, making its way down. The pressure anomalies tell a similar story, with a developing high-pressure system that's still working its way down to the surface. As we move into mid-March, we can expect these changes to unfold, reshaping our weather patterns. The impact of this event could be significant, so keep an eye on those forecasts. The pressure anomaly forecast at 10 MB reveals a striking high-pressure anomaly over the pole, flanked by two low-pressure areas, one pushing into the eastern hemisphere and another lingering over North America. This signals a rapid response throughout the stratosphere. Dive deeper to the 50-meter level, and we see the split polar vortex extending through the entire stratosphere, with a significant warming wave cascading down. This is a remarkable sight, as the core of the vortex nearly reaches the United States. We're on the brink of a major shift in the polar vortex, potentially leading to its total collapse. Such a weak polar vortex can dramatically alter weather patterns across the United States and the Northern Hemisphere. The 3D vertical structure forecast illustrates the deformed, split shape of the polar vortex by mid-month, no longer compact, but rather torn apart, fundamentally changing its dynamics. The extended wind forecast shows a negative trend around mid-March, indicating a true wind reversal in the stratosphere, a clear sign of the polar vortex's impending collapse. The graphic of atmospheric winds highlights strong reversed winds starting next week, with anomalies that clearly translate to surface levels. This is a pivotal moment for our weather systems. The polar vortex is a fascinating phenomenon, always frigid when it's stable. But when temperatures start to rise, it signals a shift. Something's about to happen. Rapid temperature increases and declining wind speeds are clear indicators that the polar vortex is weakening or even on the brink of collapse. Looking ahead, the mid-stratospheric forecast shows a massive high-pressure system building pushing against the polar vortex. This clash alters wind dynamics dramatically, creating a warming wave that's almost like sparks flying in the atmosphere. As the westerly winds slow down, a disruption wave cascades downward, much like a stack of plates wobbling precariously. By mid-March, this high-pressure area expands, dominating the polar regions and splitting the polar vortex into two cores, one heading towards Eurasia and the other towards North America. The upper-level dynamics influence lower pressure anomalies, leading to significant weather changes. The polar vortex is on the move, and its impact will be felt far and wide. Looking at the current structure of the polar vortex in 3D reveals its elongated oval shape, which remains surprisingly stable at various altitudes. However, the latest stratospheric forecast indicates an intense disruption on the horizon. The ensemble forecast for wind and temperature in the mid-stratosphere shows a significant warming wave, pushing temperatures far beyond normal levels. This is crucial because the wind forecast reveals negative values, indicating a shift from the typical westerly circulation to easterly winds. This shift meets the criteria for a major sudden stratospheric warming event. As the polar vortex begins to lose power, we can expect a ripple effect down to the lower levels, potentially altering our weather patterns significantly. Monitoring these wind changes is essential, as they are the first signs of a disruption that could impact us all. The polar vortex is making its last stand, and it's fascinating to observe. Currently, it's larger and slightly displaced towards the eastern hemisphere, taking on an oval shape. This deformation is due to a high-pressure region in the stratosphere pushing against it. At 30 kilometers up, we see a cold core cyclone forming with a low-pressure center that's quite striking. Now, looking deeper into the stratosphere at the 50 megapressure level, the polar vortex reveals an elongated structure compressed from the Pacific side. Interestingly, its core appears weak and split into two smaller regions. This dynamic interplay of forces is a vivid reminder of how complex our atmosphere can be, especially at these incredible altitudes. The polar vortex is a fascinating phenomenon that encompasses the entire weather circulation over the northern hemisphere, not just isolated cold snaps in the Midwest or Northeast. Imagine it as a massive, swirling system in the stratosphere. Right now, it's larger and slightly shifted towards the eastern hemisphere, taking on an oval shape. This deformation is due to a high-pressure region forming nearby, pushing against the vortex. It's like a giant atmospheric tug-of-war. Understanding this helps us grasp the complexity of our weather patterns. So, when you hear about the polar vortex, remember, it's not just about one storm. It's a vast, dynamic system influencing our climate. The polar vortex is a fascinating phenomenon that plays a crucial role in our weather. Picture it as a giant whirlpool of cold air sitting over the Arctic. When the upper part of the vortex is strong and stable, it keeps that frigid air locked away, leading to milder winters across much of the United States and warmer conditions in southern Canada. But when the polar vortex weakens or gets disrupted, everything changes. The jet stream becomes wobbly, allowing that cold air to spill out into the lower atmosphere. This can lead to harsh winter weather, with increased chances of snow and freezing temperatures, especially in the central and eastern United States. So, the state of the polar vortex is more than just a scientific curiosity. It directly influences our daily weather and can turn a mild winter into a frigid one in the blink of an eye. Understanding this connection helps us better prepare for what's to come. The polar vortex is a fascinating phenomenon that shapes our winter weather. Imagine a massive circulation system that stretches from the stratosphere down to the troposphere. In simple terms, it's like a swirling whirlpool of cold air that influences temperatures across the northern hemisphere from October to March. The troposphere is where all our weather events unfold, while the stratosphere sits above it, drier and more stable. We can think of the polar vortex as having two distinct parts, the upper stratospheric layer and the lower tropospheric layer. Each plays a crucial role in our winter climate. When the polar vortex is strong, it keeps the cold air locked in the Arctic. But when it weakens, that frigid air can spill southward, leading to those bone-chilling temperatures we dread. Understanding this dynamic helps us better predict winter weather patterns and prepare for what's to come. A powerful full polar vortex collapse is on the horizon for mid-March, and it's set to shake up weather patterns across North America. We're witnessing a rapid breakdown of the polar vortex, driven by a significant stratospheric warming event. This isn't just any disruption, it's the second one this season, following a cold air release that gripped much of the central and eastern United States in mid-February. What's coming looks even stronger, and it's likely to be the final collapse of the polar vortex for this winter. Once it happens, we won't see it again until the next winter season in 2025/2026. So, brace yourselves for some dramatic shifts in weather as the impacts ripple through the United States and Canada.